You post something you made, 10 people love it, one person leaves a nasty comment. Guess which one you're still awake replaying at 2 a.m, hours later, when everyone else has long since gone to sleep. The 9 kind words are already gone. The one cruel word is still running on a loop. Here's the number that explains it. Losing something hurts you about twice as hard as gaining the same thing feels good. Not a little more, twice. That's from decades of research economists Daniel Kahneman and Amos Tversky ran in the 1970s, work that later helped win Kahneman a Nobel Prize. Offer someone a coin flip. Heads, you gain $100. Tails, you lose $100. On paper, it's a perfectly fair bet. Almost nobody takes it. Ask people to explain why, and most can't. They just know it feels wrong. Your brain isn't doing that math incorrectly, and it isn't broken either. It's not running that math at all. It's running a much older calculation, one that evolved long before spreadsheets or fairness existed, with only one real question underneath it. Is this a threat? This is called negativity bias, and it's not some minor quirk. It's a measurable, repeatable tilt in how your brain weighs bad things against good things of equal size. Once you see how deep that tilt goes, the 2 a.m. replay stops feeling like a personal flaw and starts looking like a design choice, made a very long time ago without asking you. It shows up in your body before your conscious mind even catches up. Researchers using EEG scanners find the brain producing a measurably larger neural spike in response to a negative image than a positive one, even when both are carefully matched for intensity. This happens within a fraction of a second, well before you've consciously registered what you actually saw. Your nervous system asks, "Is this dangerous?" before it asks anything else. In 2001, psychologist Roy Baumeister reviewed decades of research under a blunt title, "Bad is stronger than good." The pattern showed up everywhere he looked, across totally unrelated fields. A single insult outweighs several compliments. Bad feedback lingers in memory longer than praise ever does. Bad first impressions of a stranger are far stickier than good ones. Different researchers, different decades, different methods, and the same lopsided result kept turning up. Why would a brain evolve this lopsided on purpose? Picture your ancestors on the savannah 100,000 years back. Missing a piece of sweet fruit cost them a slightly worse afternoon. Nothing more. Missing a predator in the grass cost them their life. One mistake was fully recoverable, the other ended the story completely. So the brain learned a simple, brutal rule. Weigh the bad stuff heavier. Scan for danger before you scan for anything pleasant. The humans who followed that rule survived long enough to have children. The ones who lingered on good vibes instead of watching for threats mostly didn't get the chance. That same rule shows up in relationships, and psychologist John Gottman put an exact number on it. After decades spent observing married couples in his love lab, tracking their interactions down to the smallest exchange, he found it took roughly 5 positive interactions to undo the damage of 1 negative one. Not 2, not 3, 5. Fall below that ratio, and the relationship was statistically likely to fail, no matter how the couple felt about each other on paper. One sharp comment during breakfast could quietly erase an entire week of quiet kindness. It shows up at work too. Psychologist Teresa Amabile collected nearly 12,000 workday diary entries from employees, describing their days one entry at a time, and found a single setback flattened someone's mood and motivation far more than an equivalent win ever lifted it. A cancelled meeting, one curt email, a single piece of harsh feedback. Any of these could sink an otherwise genuinely good day. There's an even stranger version of this bias. One psychologist, Paul Rosen, captured with a single vivid image he called contamination sensitivity. A single cockroach can ruin a bowl of delicious soup completely, but drop a spoonful of that same delicious soup into a bowl of cockroaches, and it does absolutely nothing to improve it. One drop of sewage spoils an entire barrel of wine. One drop of wine does nothing at all for a barrel of sewage. Bad isn't just stronger than good here. Bad is contagious, in a way good simply never is, spreading through your judgment and colouring everything nearby. Underneath all of this sits one small structure buried deep in your brain, called the amygdala. Neuroscientist Joseph Ledoux spent much of his career mapping exactly how it works, and found it can trigger a fear or threat response before the rest of your brain has even finished processing what it just saw. A raised voice, a harsh word, a single hostile face in a crowd. Your amygdala reacts to all of these faster than your conscious, reasoning brain ever gets a vote. That's the actual machinery behind your 2 a.m. replay. Not weakness, not overthinking, not a character flaw you need to fix. A genuine survival circuit, still scanning for danger, still one step ahead of your conscious reasoning, exactly like it did for every single ancestor who needed it to stay alive long enough to have kids of their own. Now think about your own notifications again. 100 people can see your photo and say absolutely nothing. One person leaves a single snide remark. Your ancient brain cannot actually tell the difference between a predator moving through the grass and a troll typing in a comment section. Both trip the exact same alarm at the exact same volume, regardless of how little the second one actually threatens you. Memory runs on this same lopsided math. You're far more likely to vividly recall one humiliating moment from a decade ago than an entire ordinary, pleasant month from that same year. Psychologists call these unusually sharp, oddly detailed negative memories flashbulb memories, and studies on them show the same pattern again and again. Danger gets filed away in high definition. Comfort gets filed away in a blur, if it gets filed at all. First impressions work this way too. Meet someone charming for an entire hour, then watch them snap rudely at a waiter just once, and that single snap is what you'll actually describe to a friend later, not the hour of charm that came before it. Psychologists John Gottman and Donald Carlston named this the negativity effect in person perception, and political campaigns exploited the exact same effect long before anyone had a formal name for it. A single attack ad reliably outlasts a dozen glowing promises in a voter's memory. Here's the part that trips most people up. The instinct is to fight this with pure willpower. Just think positive. Force yourself to focus on the good. But the bias doesn't answer to willpower because it was never a thinking problem in the first place. It's wiring, sitting well below conscious control, running the exact same way it did 50,000 years ago. Arguing with it using optimism is a bit like arguing with your own heartbeat. What actually works is something different. Not suppression. Ratio. You can't delete the negativity bias, but you can outnumber it. That's the real lesson hiding inside Gottman's 5-to-1 number. Stacking small positive moments doesn't erase the bad ones. It buries them under enough weight that they stop running the whole show. It's also the reason gratitude journaling shows up in controlled studies as measurably improving mood. Not because it deletes bad memories, but because it manufactures enough good ones to counterbalance a brain that was never built to weigh them evenly. Gottman found one more detail worth stealing. The couples who lasted weren't the ones who avoided conflict. They were the ones who got fast at repair. A small joke, a hand on the shoulder, an early apology, offered within minutes rather than hours. The faster a good interaction followed a bad one, the less time that bad moment had to calcify into a lasting impression. The same holds outside marriage. A manager who follows tough feedback with genuine acknowledgement minutes later gives an employee's brain far less room to let one comment define the relationship. This is also why the news feels worse than the world actually is. Threat and outrage get more clicks than steady progress. Not because audiences are cruel, but because the same ancient alarm system responds to danger faster than to good news, every time. Here's the strangest part of all. Negativity bias isn't a flaw hiding in an otherwise perfect brain. It's a feature that kept your ancestors alive long enough to eventually have you. Somewhere far down the family line, a human who noticed the rustle in the grass survived to raise children. A human who only noticed the sunshine did not. You are, quite literally, descended from the warriors. So the next time you post something you made, and 10 people love it, and one person doesn't, remember what's actually happening. That's not you being fragile or broken. That's inherited software, still scanning for danger, misfiring on a modern stimulus it was never built to recognise as harmless. You don't need to silence it. You just need to outnumber it. 5 good moments for every bad one, deliberately stacked, on purpose. Not because the bad one doesn't count, because you're the one who gets to decide what the ratio looks like from here on out.